Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the 60 Seconds of Stoicism podcast, the only podcast on the internet that's 60 seconds long but lasts for a half hour. My name is Ryan, I'm your host. I am the writer and creator of the Octod program from theoctod.com, and with me is my wife Melinda.
Hey guys, Melinda here again.
And we are here just to kind of talk about a heavy subject, but hopefully not with too heavy of an approach to it. We want to talk about the why me effect. And it's something that I think probably every single one of us, every single listener, certainly myself, we've said in our life, why is this happening to me? Why do I have to go through this right now? Why is it one bad thing after another, after another, after another? And so there is a real need for understanding in the why me approach. Now, people who are not in the realm of philosophy or even religion and are just looking at things scientifically will say this is just a random happenstance that occurs in nature, that you were selected because the times lined up within a certain order and, boom, something happened and you were just there. Others from a scientific method would say, well, it's because you have a degenerative genes and things have been passed down from parents and that's why things have happened to you. And both probably right to some extent. But for those of us in Western philosophy and faith and psychology, we look at things a little bit different. We understand that the why me question can be understood deeper when we understand that maybe it's not just me. Maybe there is a reason that I'm going through this right now. And that's a hard pill to swallow because everybody's going to say, I didn't deserve to get cancer. You're absolutely right. You didn't deserve it. You did nothing to bring that on your life. But the incredible things that can come out of that, and I'm going to talk about my own situation with my mother in just a minute, but the incredible things that can come out of that can be beneficial. So what I think we're going to do tonight as an approach to the why me question is we're going to really focus on Marcus Aurelius. Going back, giving the history again, here is a man who didn't want to be an emperor of Rome. That's what it was. He loved philosophy. Even as a kid, he loved philosophy. He wanted to be a philosopher. He studied all the time. He wore itchy clothing. He slept on the floor, which made his mother very embarrassed, and she asked him to sleep in the bed. He wanted to be a philosopher, and because he was such a good child growing up into a young man, he was handpicked to take over as the emperor of Rome. And so here he is put in this position. While he's there, terrible things happen. There's a famine that happens. There's a disease that happens that kills a big part of his children. He has to see them die one by one. There's rumors of his wife being unfaithful to him and, could be for various reasons, but she was. So he really had a reason to say, why me? In all of this. All I wanted to do was be a philosopher, and now I've got to deal with all of this. Why me? But he takes such a different approach to the idea of why me. I just want to throw it out there. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you've thought, just for a brief second, why me, and can you recall what it was when you've done it? I know, I'm throwing you on the spot here, but...
I could name a lot of them. Growing up as a child, went through a lot of hardship, being an oldest child, going through things with my mom, and then when I got married, same thing, going through a lot of why me moments. And then I think as I got older, then I was just kind of like, okay, why not me? Because even maybe as a child, I didn't understand. I was like, why me? Why me? But then as I got older and I got wiser and I started seeing the things that I was able to do with that, then it was kind of like, I felt like God got a hold of me and was like, why not you? Because why am I more special than anybody else? And then I started to see how the why me situations started to help me help others around me.
Interesting. I think that is a perfect segue into our first Marcus Aurelius passage here. This is from Meditations 4.10. Whatever happens, happens justly. Pay close attention and you will see that this is so. By this I don't mean only that justice will result from whatever happens, but I mean that a just purpose will also be served, as is the case when payment is made for work or prizes are awarded for victory. So something will come out of this. Mm-hmm. Something from what you've experienced will come out of this. And to equate it as winning a prize or getting paid for it doesn't seem right. You can say I got in a terrible car accident. What good can come out of that? And then we have to really put on that philosopher's hat with all this, the stoic thinking of, well, when I was laid up, I was injured badly. I had to force myself and push myself harder. I found new limits of strength to overcome the pain I had. I had to relearn how to walk, but realized the incredible support system that I had around me that I had not even realized was there. And now I'm standing there helping other people in the same situation, giving them hope. And man, what a way to turn around a tragic situation to where something good comes out of it.
Exactly.
So, I want to look at a couple of passages tonight. We're going to go through these from Meditations, and we're going to go through these and kind of talk about the strength that has to lie inside to be able to overcome the why me question. My mother went through probably the most why me moments of anybody I know. She one day told us when I was a young man, she said the doctors have found a lump and they're going to see if it's cancerous or not, and it was cancerous. And so she had to have a mastectomy. And thankfully, they saved her and she was going good. And then she had to get a checkup and it returned. And so she had to deal with that again and overcome that. And my mom was a warrior. She went through radiation and chemo, and I don't know that she had ever missed a day of work. She would go get this done and be so sick, but still go to work. She would have radiation burns all over her, and she would put wet paper towels on her skin while she's trying to do her job, just to calm that burn down. And an insane amount of stoicism in all of that. Having that wherewithal to just continue. Then, just a couple of years pass. She goes to the doctor because she's having another issue, and the doctor tells her, you have uterine cancer. We're going to have to do a hysterectomy. Which now, she's now had 2 why me moments, possibly now a third for all of that. Then, several years after that happens, and she's recovered, she loses my dad at a very young age, and has to overcome that, and now she's a single person. And then one morning we talked to her, on the phone. She's doing good. And then the next day I get a call from emergency saying, your mother's here in the hospital. She fell outside during the middle of August in 115-degree heat and laid outside overnight. We had no idea. We just talked to her. We thought she was doing great. And was found by a maintenance worker the next morning. Suffered massive burns, amputation from a couple of toes. Just one thing after another. But the one thing she never uttered to myself, my sister, my family, any of her support systems was, why me? She would always say, God must have a plan for me for that. My mom. Yeah. She was a tough cookie. She is now passed. And that will be for a different episode when we talk about that. But she was just a rock. And she took all of that opportunity to complain and curse God and just say, I shouldn't be a part of all this. And she used that. Instead of doing those things, she used it and just said, hey, look, I'm still living. All through this, I survived cancer. I survived a resurgence. I survived uterine cancer. I survived a massive brain tumor. Did I talk about the brain tumor?
No, I don't think you mentioned the brain tumor.
She had a brain tumor. Had to have her skull cut open and a brain tumor removed out that was the size of a baseball. She passed out one night when she was coming to answer the door when I was on the other side, and I had to kick down her door to get her out. So she, just another thing. I mean, one right after the other. But she embodied exactly what Marcus Aurelius is talking about here, where she saw something good come out of this. She saw that she was continuing to live even though the hard times were there. She still got to see her kids. She still got to laugh and love and enjoy, and life went on for her. And so it served a purpose. It strengthened her faith. It strengthened the faith of others around her, including yours truly. And she served as a great example for it. So let's read another passage here, all right? Marcus Aurelius. Accept the prescriptions of nature as if they were intended for your own health, even if at times they may seem cruel or disagreeable to you. And that was the prescription of nature for my mom, was all those cruel and disagreeable things. But I like what he said, accept the prescriptions of nature. This is what nature is giving you. This is what they planned out. Put in the doctor's office context with, the prescription. These are the things that are going to make you better. But we don't look at those as betterments for it. Did you ever feel when you were going through some of those tough times that this is actually to make you better, that these things are happening?
Like I said, when I was younger, didn't think that way. But as I got older, yeah. And I think it's because I started to... I felt like people that were going through the same thing as me just kind of started coming in my path, whether it was at work or, my own kids or friends of my kids or just even just certain relatives. I started to see that I just felt like God was like leading some of those people to me. And I was just like, wow, like here's an opportunity. And then going forward, as things were happening, I was just like, okay, this is just another thing for me to, just another way to just help other people. Good. So
hang on to that thought, because this is literally the next part of this passage on there.
Okay.
Remember that they are remember that they are for the good of the universe and for the pleasure of God. And you said God is going to do this thing to me. And Marcus Aurelius, of course, is talking about the gods of Rome and Athens and Zeus and all that, as well as the Logos, and that is just the nature of existence all around us. But he's saying this is for the pleasure of it. It's not God is delighting in the pain. God is delighting in the outcome that is going to happen because of this. And so that is where the good is. And then he goes on to say, after all, it would violate the nature of anything to act against its own interest in governing its parts. So not only is this good for you, but there's a reason why it's good for you. And if it wasn't good for you, it wouldn't happen, because nature wouldn't violate its own parts. He goes on to say, there are two reasons then for being content with whatever happens to you. The first is that it was meant just for you. Again, he uses the word prescribed for you and preserved for you, like a thread woven into your destiny from the very beginning. Marcus is an amazing writer, beautiful writer. Again, we got to keep in mind that he is a Roman emperor writing to himself in Greek that he learned because he believed that that was a true foundation of philosophy, writing himself to the Greek, and he writes that so beautifully, that this thing that has happened to you that you may see as a why me moment was meant just for you and preserved for you like a thread woven into your destiny from the very beginning. You were meant to have this wall. You are meant to have this rock you have to face. You are meant to have this hardship because it is going to do something positive for you. He goes on to say, the second is that whatever happens to the individual contributes to the health, wholeness, and survival of the entire universe. Yeah. Boy, do we look at it that, I mean, it's not the way we consider adversity. You know, this is happening for the good of the entire universe. You mean because I went through a divorce where my spouse left me, that's going to contribute to the whole greatness of the entire universe? Well, yeah, but not in the way I thought, not in the way I think. And that time it was just a very dark moment for me. Mm-hmm. But what happened was I decided to change myself. I went back to school. I started writing. I started looking at different opportunities, how to help with growth and development of children. And that helped me incrementally change lives as we went through it. So yeah, it was good. And maybe not for the entire universe, but at least the immediate universe around me. And I think the same thing you just said for you as well. When you went through those things, and you started helping people as well.
Yep, exactly.
So, what advice would you personally give to somebody who is in the moment of going through a hardship, and they come to you and they say, Melinda, I don't know how to carry on. I'm going through something severe. Maybe it's cancer, or maybe a loss of a child, or something severe. What's the first thing you would say to them?
Well, I think if I could relate, it'd be a little easier. If I couldn't, I think I'm surrounded by enough people around me that I could probably direct them to. Always try to give them the best advice, but then probably redirect them to someone I knew. Definitely something that I've gone through. I don't always want to right away just say, this is what you got to do. A lot of times it's just hearing them out and hearing what they have to say. What are they going through? Because people don't really want you to fix it sometimes. They just need someone to talk to. I think a lot of times people might already have the answer, but they just need someone to confirm what they're feeling, or maybe what that right decision is. Just
Good.
they need to know, am I just overthinking this, or am I really going through this, and do I need to do something about it? So for me, it's listening to people. What is it that they're going through? Can I help them? Where can I lead them to? But yeah, I think it's just really listening to, maybe they already have the plan of action. They just need that confirmation.
They just need the backup, and they just need to know that there's somebody on their side.
Yeah.
That's listening to it. So, very, very good. Let's go to another passage from Marcus Aurelius. This is section 848. You will recall how impregnable your mind is when it withdraws into itself and steadfastly refuses to do what it doesn't want to do, even when refusal is unreasonable. There's a lot to unpack with that. So, how impregnable your mind is when it withdraws into itself and steadfastly refuses to do what it doesn't want to do, even when refusal is unreasonable. It goes on to say, imagine then what it's like when it arrives at a decision calmly and reasonably, free from passions. The mind is a veritable fortress. A man cannot find a more secure place to take refuge and remain unassailable forever. Ignorant is he who fails to see this, and truly ill-fated is he who sees but fails to take refuge. The fortress of the mind. That goes into the ataraxia tenet of Stoicism, of having that mind that is so strong, so focused, will not do the things that everybody is telling it to do, and decides instead to, and this is very key, he says, remove passions, which goes into that why me thinking. The passion is, why is this happening to me? Why is this so bad? Why do I have to suffer this? But removing it and saying, okay, what am I going to gain from this? How do I persevere through this? If this is my last moments on this earth, how do I take those moments and turn them into something that is life-changing for this universe around me? And so that requires a calm mind, a mind free from passion. I have a mind that I cannot turn off sometimes. I wouldn't say it's the fortress of the mind. It's more like the Walmart supercenter of the mind. Like, there's just categories going everywhere. There's shopping carts full of returns going back and forth. There's ring bells going off and ringers going off and children crying. And that is how my mind is sometimes. There's so much that goes into it during the course of the day that it's really hard to shut it off. And it can cause you to have anxiety. It can cause you to have insomnia. Lots of things like that. What Marcus was really good at doing and reminding himself is, you have to see your mind as a steel trap. That is the place where you want to retreat. It is the safe place to go. It's the place where you can be calm. It's the place where you can talk to yourself with your thoughts. And also goes back into journaling, which is what he's doing right now, where you're having those meditations. But your mind it's an ally against these things that are coming. And I've heard people a lot of times, and when I'm asking them a question or something, or I'm asking them if they can do something, and they'll say, let me think on it for a minute. Man, I admire that so much. I admire because my super center brain wants to be like, no, let me figure out a solution right now, even if it's the wrong one or it's going to cost me a lot of damage or pain, and so I just go with it. But man, I would love to be able just to stand back and say, let me think about that for a little bit. And that's what Aurelius is talking about here. Make sure that you remove the passions from your mind, find a place with calm and reason, and then see what you can do to take the good out of the bad. So, again, another hack towards that why me question. All right, we're going to finish out with one more here. And this is from Meditations 8, section 51. This one just hits you right off the bat. You ready for this one? So what if they kill you, hack you into pieces, hunt you down with curses? How can this keep your mind from being pure, sound, temperate, and just? So let me go.
That's a tough one.
Straight into that. He's not just talking about what if they come to try to take your life. He's like, what if you go through the most brutal torture there is? What if you go through the most incredible death that you could go to? Is that going to change the purity of your mind? Is that going to change the virtue of who you are as a person? And we've seen those kind of things happen in that time frame. You know, Nero forced Seneca to commit suicide. You know, he had his men hunt him down, basically, and force him to commit suicide for a conspiracy that he really wasn't part of. And, you know, we saw Epictetus have to be a slave through all this. And yes, he maybe wasn't hunted down, but his leg was broken by a cruel master. He was tortured through all that. So he's saying it doesn't matter what this outside world is trying to do to you. If your mind is the fortress, your virtues are where they're supposed to be. They cannot be changed. Mm-hmm. And that's an amazing thing for that. Let's go on to read a little bit more. If a man were to stop beside a limpid spring of sweet water and start hurling insults at it, would suddenly cease to flow. And I love this little metaphor here. You come across this beautiful babbling brook, and you just start screaming at it. You know, you're a stupid brook. You're running in the wrong direction. I hate that you've got rocks in you. I hate there's fish. I hate, you know, it's just like a ridiculous stop, but it's also true. That stream is going to run no matter what you do. You're not going to stop it. You're going to just have to deal with the fact that it's cut its path and you're not going to intertwine with it because that's how strong it is. So, okay, very good. But it gets even more. So, going back to that stream, even if he threw mud and excrement into the stream, it would soon dissolve and wash away and leave not a taint or a stain. So, when people are hurling their excrement at us, let's just put it that way, the bunch of junk that they say, the curses that they say, the bad things they say towards us, if our mind is that fortress that he's talking about, we will wash that away. It will have no effect on us. Yeah. It's not as strong as our stream or our river is. Mm-hmm. With that.
Sometimes it's easier said than done, though, you know. Just going back as a young kid, just, you know, and it was a lot of repair that had to be done because of that, you know, taking stuff in from, you know, a step parent and, you know, it could always lead, and, you know, and it led to not knowing whether I could say something or not, or, but yeah, that could really damage somebody.
So I'm not going to give details out of respect, but just because you mentioned that you went through abuse as a child, mm-hmm. you've been able to use that to help people with that. Even though some of those things and those memories and those thoughts are going to stick with you, maybe not everything can be washed in the water. Has it also helped you to move on by helping other people?
Yeah, I think that I don't think I could fully say you come to a healing where you never forget it. It's going to be there, and sometimes there's those trigger moments, but I think that when I'm able to come around other people who are going through those same things and able to talk to them about it, there's healing in that. Because as I'm constantly talking about it and telling them, what I've gone through and what worked for me, and just kind of helping them through it, it starts to kind of be that continual healing for myself as well.
Good.
So yeah.
Very good. That's excellent. So Marcus doesn't leave us hanging, and this goes back to my whole theory of faith and framework. This is the framework here. How do we become that stream in our mind, that non-stopping flowing stream that cannot be turned or stopped or tainted? He says, how then can you possess an ever-flowing stream? By using the freedom you already possess to imbue your character with compassion, simplicity, and modesty. Those three things right there. You can't tell me I'm not good enough and hurt me with that saying if I've already got compassion towards you that you have to use those kind of words and terms against me. I feel sorry for you that's all you can say. You can't destroy me by taking my property and all those things if I'm already living a life of simplicity. Fine, take it. Remove it. You can't say that I'm going to bring false accusations against you, or I'm going to bring lies against you if I'm already living a life of modesty and everybody knows my character is good. That prevents the stream from being stopped. It prevents the stream from being dammed up or changed or tainted. So what Marcus is telling us right here is, who cares what life brings against you? Be the good person you were meant to be. Play the part you were meant to play. Take an Epictetus line from it. But that stream cannot stop unless you decide that you're going to let that stop. And that's where the danger is when we let those things affect us. So the question now is, why me? Why do I have to go through those things? Well, I'm going to ask the question a little bit different. I'm going to ask the question like this. Why me? How do I use this to change others now? Where's my lesson in this that I can find to where this is no longer a tragedy? This is something beautiful for the universe around me. Why was I chosen to experience this? Is it because I've got a strong enough mind and a strong enough heart that I can reach out to others and say, you are worth everything? Let me help you out because I've been there? Why me? Because maybe I can see the stream turning in somebody else's life. I can see the waters getting muddy. Maybe it's stopped flowing because it doesn't know how to flow. And so I can reach in and give that friendship and that advice. I don't know what's going to happen to me in the future. You don't know. None of us do. We don't know if there's tomorrow. Stoics tell us all the time, you live for today. Marcus Aurelius would imagine when he's telling his kids goodnight that they would not wake up in the morning. And he gave them so much love and passion in those moments and appreciated them. And that's what we've got to do. So regardless of whatever comes our way, don't ask, why me? But ask, why me? What can I do with this opportunity to help the universe and everything around us? Any final thoughts from you? Nope?
No.
All right.
I think we've touched it all.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the 60 Seconds of Stoicism podcast from theoctod.com. You can go to theoctod.com right now and pick up the book, The Octod. You can also find our merchandise on there and links to the show. So thank you guys so much for supporting us, for letting us be part of the Stoic community, and most of all, for letting us be students just like you are. And remember, the only way to get better in life is to have an intelligent mind to bring about intelligent health. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.